Hey guys, I know you like Gate Killer. Hey, anyway, I'm here with my buddy Brandon Johnson from the GPAA, and as you guys know, I'm Shannon with AMRA. And anyway, I think it's really cool that we've got the president of the GPAA up here, and we're going to go mining today. So before we go down to the creek and start cleaning out the cracks, we're going to run over to the lode mine because this weekend is the Sonora GPAA Gold Show. And so anyway, we set up a trailer over here. It's got a jaw crusher and an impact mill, and we're going to show people, you know, when we go into a mine and we chip away and we pull out the lode material, then we're going to process that at the gold show to show everybody how that works. So we're going to run over, take you in the mine real quick, and grab 2 buckets of material. So we'll head over there. Well guys, we're over at the lode mine. We're just going to go in and take 2 buckets out of here, but for those that haven't seen the video on our lode mine, we'll take you in there and we'll kind of show you where and why we're working the spot that we're doing in here, and hopefully you'll learn something about that. And then maybe we'll shoot a video at the gold show and actually show you how we process the ore. So, but I gotta tell you, as I was pulling in here with Brandon, I was telling him we were here about a month ago and pulled up. The mine shaft's right below us here, and when we pulled up, a bobcat ran out of the mine. So that's why we brought the chupacabra and the bulldozer dog. No bobcats today. So guys, we're inside the mine here. Brandon's actually right behind the camera, so you get some pretty good light on the main ore body. And this is kind of a unique mine. Is what we've got over here on my right here, is really what it's called porphyry. And it's a really decomposed, very soft material. You can dig this out with a screwdriver really easy. And then you can see here is all bull quartz. It's thick, heavy white quartz. And what we do is we work these areas where these 2 contact zones are. So this, what happens is, in geological terms, is that as the Sierra Nevadas get pushed up and get built because of the Pacific plate going underneath there, it puts all of these veins at about a 47-degree slope in this particular mine. In some areas it's as much as 60% because it gets pushed up more, but in here it's about 47 degrees. And as that happens over the course of millions of years, it creates cracks in the sedimentary rock. And then you get superheated liquid quartz that comes up from the bottom down in Middle Earth, and it carries that gold. And so that fills all of those cracks when there's volcanic activity and things like that. And then these 2 contact zones, either the foot or the ceiling, that as that liquefied quartz comes through there, the gold continues through and it starts to cool when it hits the sedimentary rock, and that's where your gold, because it's so heavy it keeps pushing. So the outer 2 inches about of that quartz vein is predominantly what we mine. All this stuff in the center, it has very, very little gold, and you're just tearing up your equipment if you're trying to crush this stuff. So we focus just on this, which you can see is really mineralized. So there's your Geology 101 mining lesson for the day. So this is the stope here that goes up, and you can see it's about 50-degree angle. But let me give you guys another little geology lesson here. So you guys are in the main shaft, which is about 140 feet long, and then this is what's called a stope, and we've got really good ventilation coming through here. So what happened is, way back in the day when they found this mine, what they did is there's a little tiny creek drainage that's always dry, and the guys were poking around back in the day and found gold in that creek drainage. So they kept panning and panning and panning and panning until they didn't hit any more of this gold, which was small, but it was very coarse, which told them that they were really close to the source. Once they went up the creek and didn't hit any more gold, they started clearing the ground away, exposed this massive quartz vein in here, and then started punching a hole down. The stope right here is what they chased down. Then they cut this tunnel in later to give them basically access that they could haul material in and out and all that kind of stuff. So that's how they did that, and they chased this vein down, which told us specifically what type of ore body that they were working, and it made it really easy for us. So anyway, there's your next lesson. So you can see I've taken out this area right in through here. See that little gap there? This is the best gold that we have found, is right there, and I can see already that people have been coming in here high grading my frickin' mine, which pisses me off to no end. So as I crumble this stuff away, there's gold in there. I guarantee you that that's where all your gold is. It's right there. And you'll have loops and dives, and then what we call dams, where you'll see a quartz vein come like that and it'll loop around back on itself. And where it does that, where the end of that loop is normally just freaking loaded, because it got pushed up there as superheated liquid quartz. And when it hits that dam, that gold is so heavy in the quartz, it keeps continuing, and then it stops at the end of it because it has nowhere else to go. That's where you have big pockets of gold. Paul Patterson, just a quarter of a mile from here, he has the Blue Jay in 1986. Quarter of a mile from here, 56-pound pocket of gold. So this is on the same vein, and we're hoping that we're going to encounter something like that, but we got a lot of work to do to get to that. So that kind of explains the whole sedimentary layers and how the quartz carries the gold. Why is quartz and gold so extremely attractive to each other? I have no idea. I don't have really any idea, but the way that these guys developed these lode mines back in the day, and it really gives you an appreciation for just how freaking tough these guys were. Dude, they didn't have Sierra Blaster and things like that we do, and backhoes that come in and dig the opening out. They did everything by hand, and that's what's remarkable.
Well, when you say Sierra Blaster, I mean, you know, even that is, you know, just needing to pick up little details. How do you know when it's safe to blast? Or how do you blast at all in a mine? Should you blast at all?
Well, and you know, that's probably one of the most important questions, is really about the safety. Is if you go into a lode mine, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to look at the ceiling, because typically if something is going to hurt you, it's going to come from the top. And so we'll carry a 6-foot bar, and we do what's called barring it down. And you walk in and you just, if you see a rock or something that's loose, you bar it down, and so it drops. And I've been in mines before. I've gone in 15 feet, turn around and gone, there's no way I'm going to go in there, just because they're that unstable. This one, when we found it many years ago, we walked in there and there was one big clump of rock on the bottom of the floor that had come down, but nobody had mined this for at least 50 or 60 years. So if one rock comes down in a 150-foot shaft, we felt that that was pretty safe. Then we individually looked at each one of those layers that you see in there, the porphyry, the granite, the quartz, all of these different things, and you look for gaps in between those rocks. And if you've got gaps, that means that those plates are shifting, and that causes instability as well. But, I mean, you walked through there, you had a pretty good light. You didn't see any of that gapping or any of those big cracks or anything, because the mine is very stable. So we're in an area that's not, and that's another thing to consider, is a mine shaft or having a mine in an area that has a lot of earthquakes. And we're fortunate here is we don't have earthquakes. I mean, I think that there's only one recorded decent sized one, and that was over in Yosemite Valley. So We just don't have it. Earthquakes would cause a mine to become unstable. A lot of water, you know, obviously a big earthquake in San Francisco or something like that that affects the Sierra Nevada mountains would affect it. But so that's it. You go in and you look for the cracks. You look for shifting in all of those different layers, and we just don't have it in here. So, but you know, another thing too is we were talking about those layers is that right on that foot of the one vein that Brandon and I were chipping away at, there's an area about that big, guys, that's nothing but orange, you know, a deep red, kind of like dried blood color. And that's indicative of iron, and it tells us that it's highly mineralized. And that's where we were getting most of our gold. So what we have here is some really good samples, and Brandon actually thinks he's got a piece that may have visible gold in it. I can't see it without my glasses, but
yeah, no, pick the piece out. I was curious. I mean, just how rich you talked about in that small confined area.
Yeah.
You know, just taking a look, and I feel like, you know, the first time prospecting, because I always get people coming up to me saying, you know, in the pan, is that gold? Is that gold? It's easy to tell with the green pan and small material, but when you're really looking at it in the vein, you know, it seems like it's harder to tell because you can't move it around. It can't shift, and you see it in a different light. So
you need a good loop. 30 power loop is what I use. Don't use a 10 or a 20. Use a 30. And anyway, we got one in the truck. We'll take a look at it. But I want to say something about him, and he acts like he doesn't know anything about lode mining, which is really kind of a bunch of BS. The guy's been around mining since probably as long as I have. But this is a little bit new to him coming to this particular mine in this area, so it's kind of a learning experience for him as well. You guys got to understand, I kind of act like I really know what I'm talking about here. I had to learn at some point myself as well, so this is why we do these videos, is we just want to teach you. So I hope you learned something. Well, let's head out. Let's go mine in the creek.
sounds good.
That's all right. I'll carry it like I do everything.